So the theme of our first panel this morning is new media, new narrative. And we have three true pioneers in this space to speak with us. And I'm going to give a little bit of context and a little bit of background for introduction purposes. My name is Jonathan Cloonan, and I am Director of Partnerships at GroupM Entertainment North America. And if you don't know, GroupM it's the world's largest media investment management company. I always say we place around 1 in 3 ads globally. And the unit I work in, so the entertainment division, we look after strategic partnerships in the entertainment or the digital content space. I'm from Dublin, but I live in New York, so I'm doubly excited to be home for the week. The first panelist this morning is Mr. Ezra Cooperstein. Ezra is the president of Fullscreen. Fullscreen is the world's leading multi-channel network, or MCN. What an MCN is, it's a company that aggregates YouTube channels, YouTube stars, and YouTube inventory. And Fullscreen actually do that for about 50,000 of the world's largest YouTube content creators. And Ezra, congratulations! I know you got acquired last month by AT&T and the Cooperstein Group for all sorts of big sums of money, and WPP have maintained a strategic investment, so congrats. Sure. I'd like to welcome our second panelist, who's Rob Gregory. Rob is Chief Revenue Officer of WhoSay, and WhoSay is a mobile celebrity publishing platform. It's often touted as people magazine for the next generation. And what's cool about WhoSay is that they create content and distribute content for A-list celebrities like Eva Longoria, who's here somewhere, Kevin Bacon, Tom Hanks, Matthew McConaughey, and they actually distribute that content across the entire social ecosystem. So fascinating company, huge trajectory, and welcome to the stage. And finally, last but not least, Mr. Jonathan Hunt. Jonathan is Vice President of Marketing and Partnerships globally for Vox Media. Vox is one of America's fastest growing online publishers. They average around 100 million uniques globally a month. Across their brands and their verticals like SBNation.com for sport, they've got The Verge for technology, Curbed for real estate. So when I say I've got three pioneers in the space, I'm not lying. So please welcome the lads to the stage. Ezra, Rob, Jonathan. I'm going to start off with a bit of a softball question. When we think of new media in 2014, I think it's a banner year. I think it's a banner year for two reasons. It's the 40th anniversary of Apple doing their big 1984 TV spot, which really at the time defined the communications landscape. Big, splashy, 30, 60-second spot. 2014 is also the 10-year anniversary of Facebook, which obviously has come along, revolutionized the communications landscape, and really defined social. So, first question, 2014, new media, where are we? What's the first theme or trend that comes to mind when you hear it? Rob, let's start with you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, 40 years ago was also the anniversary of People magazine. And as you mentioned, the big idea behind WhoSay is to disrupt that model and to create People magazine by the people in it in a mobile experience that you control. And I don't know, just quick show of hands, how many people saw Eva Longoria yesterday? So a bunch of you did. Eva, just very quickly how WhoSay works. Eva Longoria is one of the WhoSay celebrities. She uses our tool, the WhoSay Talent app, to post all of her Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. And now, this year, we give her the opportunity, in addition to posting to all her social, using the WhoSay Talent app, to post directly into people.com. And it's disintermediated, it's direct. She is publishing herself. She has a lot to say, as any of you guys who saw her speak yesterday. And the People editors can't touch it, basically. So we think this is huge. We're going to announce officially later this week that WhoSay will also publish into HuffPo, Flipboard, and Tango, the messaging app that has 200 million users now. So that's a major thing. That's a opportunity for talent, celebrities, influencers who have something to say, who want to go beyond selfies and sunsets with their social content creation, and publish directly to their fans.
So you're saying that the big thing for you is that new media equals new sorts of partnerships. Right. Ezra, what about you? What are you seeing on the ground?
I think that 2014 is going to be a transformational year in video. We're also closing in on the 10-year anniversary of or YouTube, and the video landscape is changing extremely quickly. So not only are we seeing explosion in platforms like YouTube, but we're also starting to see some of the unbundling in the States that people have been talking about. You have CBS going over the top, you have HBO going over the top, you have upstarts like Fullscreen and Vessel who are going to be launching over the top opportunities as well. So I think that this is going to be a year where we're seeing traditional media and a lot of the new media video companies starting to collide in the center.
Cool. Jonathan?
So, Ezra, you kind of stole my answer.
Dun, dun,
I
dun.
was, yeah, I know. We got to fight after this, and you'll win. I was going to say democratization of media consumption, which is kind of what you said. I think some people will say programmatic, and some people will say visibility metrics. I don't think it's one thing. I think as a media company, a lot of, just businesses in general are at this inflection point where they're trying to figure out if they're a data-driven company or not. But more so than ever, they're trying to find that balance between being both and being a data-informed company and not having every single aspect of their business being dictated by data. So I think it's kind of like that's a very introspective moment where they're trying to figure out, where do I go from there?
Yeah. So on data, I think something that I found with a lot of publishers at the moment is this concept of hacking growth. It's basically trying to basically reverse engineer content creation using tactics like the BuzzFeed model of listicles, SEO, Facebook referrals on social. You've got cat videos just to drive traffic and to sort of game the system. With Vox Media, just the trajectory that you are on.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on this concept of hacking growth? And I don't think hacking growth is a bad thing, by the way. I think it's a very successful thing, but I think it's a tactic.
Yeah.
What's your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're very fortunate in that we don't have to reverse engineer content for the sake of driving clicks. I mean, the way that Vox Media was born, it was actually born as our sports site, SB Nation, which was a collective of just blogs, essentially fans who were writing great content and trying to find ways of shifting audiences back and forth. And so what we did is we built a media stack around that and then applied it to all of our new verticals. So what you have is this middle ground between creating great content that is culturally important and supporting that with great product in the interest of spinning up websites that have now, and just to correct you, 150 million UVs a month.
Apologies. Dun, dun.
I know, just 50 million UVs. But that's kind of been our approach to building our brand. And so whenever people ask me, okay, so where does Vox Media sit within the media landscape? I say it's somewhere in between a BuzzFeed and a Vice.
Yeah. And I know you kind of, in the spirit of full disclosure and transparency, myself and Jonathan used to work together at Vice. And building on that point, what is the big difference between Vice and Vox, given that you did quadruple audiences to across the Vice owned and operated in your 6-year tenure, your 8-year tenure there. But to me, Vox seems like a brand safe version of Vice. Is that fair?
No, I mean, I think they're two completely different companies. Vox Media just happens to play in the same space as Vice does. From the very beginning, we've strategically taken a very intelligent way to building each of our 7 brands. Both from the way that we build our product to the way that we create our content to the way that we distribute that content to the way that we sell that content. It just so happens that we also, speak to a very intelligent and affluent audience. So I think Vice, is an amazing brand, and they've been able to build brand on voice. And they've done very successfully, at that. But I would say that they're 2 very different companies.
Okay. Ezra, you mentioned at the top the trend, that you're seeing and the theme you're seeing, online video. I think a huge trend for next year that could really disrupt online videos is the rise and continued growth of Facebook video. But I wanted to ask you about YouTube and the quality therein. So when you think of YouTube creators, of which Fullscreen represents the world's leading content creators, I think a lot of people think of low quality creators, because that's really what the YouTube ecosystem has grown from. Are you leaning into that, or are you trying to invest more into upscaling that content in terms of quality?
Yeah, so I think 2 things. One, I think quality is a relative term. So,
Fair.
you know, on Monday I went out into the Irish countryside, and I met with the largest YouTube channel in the country. And the guy actually is he makes videos in his small little living room, and with his son, who's 5 years old, and they basically just unwrap Kinder eggs and like play with Legos. And so, fairly low quality, but from a viewership perspective, he's doing probably like 10 times more viewership than all of the Irish broadcasters combined. So, low quality, maybe, but in terms of the community around that content, the engagement around that content, extremely high. So I think that the idea of quality is changing very rapidly. Audiences under the age of 20 don't care about production quality. They care about storytelling. They care about connection to what the creative is. They don't care about production quality. But of course, we all want to make better video. And the quality of video is changing in real time. Creators are growing up with the tools in their hands, and so the quality of video, the quality of the storytelling, the quality of editing is getting much better than it was, and I've lived in this world of YouTube for a long time. So I think that we're on a very good trajectory, and of course, as the economics of the platform changes, the opportunity to make better video changes as well. So content investments can increase. You know, the creator who used to do it themselves in their living room can hire a team to help them produce better quality content. So it's both, and changing very quickly.
Okay, and with the quality changing ever so quickly, I suppose presumably what you're hoping for, and the business model is that more and more advertisers will want to play in that sandbox in the YouTube ecosystem. And I want to talk around monetizing of content across all of your platforms, specifically around branded content and native advertising, two lovely jargon words that we tend to use in this industry. Rob, what's your strategy around branded content? How do you make sure that the content you and the big celebrities you work with, the content that you're creating is authentic and it's not deterring audiences when it's funded by a brand?
Right. So Eva Longoria, I'm going to riff on Eva Longoria this whole panel, by the way. So Eva Longoria, just this sort of nice coincidence that she's here at the Web Summit. She was part of a campaign that we launched this summer on WhoSay with Canon cameras, which we think is a terrific case study for our monetization model, and is also indicative of where the storytelling is going and how not just YouTubers and Viners, but celebrities are interested in working with brands and telling stories that feel organic and authentic. And it's a very simple campaign. Eva and 11 other celebrities were each given a brand new Canon digital SLR camera that does high-def video and still pictures. We turned them loose for 6 weeks, and we asked them to put down their iPhone and use the Canon to do their social storytelling. We published it all through WhoSay. So it was selfies and video and images and still photos and so forth. We gave them a storytelling theme for the arc of the campaign, which was #BringIt, which meant how do you bring it when the director says action? How do you bring your A game? That was Canon's creative messaging. And the result was some terrific organic content that was not just fragmented, that was a evolution beyond the paid tweet or the fragmented mention, but came together to form this very rich narrative that built over the 6 weeks. And the WhoSay model is to share brand revenue with the talent. They are even big names like Eva, who have 7-figure endorsement contracts with the big, the L'Oreals of the world, are interested in doing that if they can do some work. And I think they've seen the phenomenon of YouTube and what makers are doing and the stories that people are telling using video now, and they're interested in taking part of that as well. So we think that's a terrific model for where it's going. The result, the brand was very happy with it. A ton of owned, earned, and paid media and impressions, and a brand-safe, well-lit, professional storytelling platform for it all to rest on.
It's an interesting one. We've got digital native stars with Fullscreen. We've got traditional stars with WhoSay. We've got multiple portals around passion points with Fox, and and across all of your platforms, you do a lot of branded content. I know that. But I look after a lot of brands, and we at GroupM and WPP look after brands. And what we care about when we do media spends is ROI for our clients, ROI for the budgets. And branded content and brand entertainment, it's very abstract still in a certain way around measuring success. BuzzFeed talk about their social lift. You've got Ogilvy and the brand entertainment assessment model, Visu. Is there a metric out there that actually manages ROI or shows ROI in branded content?
I would say that there isn't one definitive metric, to be honest. To your point, BuzzFeed has viral lift, Upworthy has attention minutes, Nielsen and Adobe just got together, to kind of track with more breadth, how content travels and the return on that. But what a lot of those are missing is that they're missing one of the 4 or 5 key tenets of actually tracking the return on a content investment, which is viewability, the value of earned media, its engagements, its earned media, and there's a few others, but they all miss one of those. So I don't think that, to your point, there's like an answer yet. I think that 2015 is going to be a very pivotal year for answering that question, but I don't think that there's a solution right now.
I think there's been a lot of caution with brands up until fairly recently. There still is when they start to relinquish some control and sort of let the brand go out and flow across a social storytelling environment, that they're not only looking for ROI, they're looking to avoid DOI, disaster on investment. Right, I just made that up just right.
I love a good acronym.
DOI, and that they want to know is there something bad that can happen? Could it go viral in a bad way, and that sort of thing. So I agree with Jonathan. It's shifting very quickly what really defines ROI, but there's also this desire to just have it turn out well and not have it go off the rails. It's part of the criteria of evaluating it.
Yeah, I think we're in a moment also right now where inaction is simply not tolerated from the brand standpoint. Like, you have to be playing in the space. You have to be leaning into social. You got to lean into brand content. That your traditional 30s and are not as powerful as they once were. You can't just dial that up and reach, especially millennials. You've got to be talking to them on their terms and the places that they're consuming content, and it creates some real challenges. And while I don't think necessarily the industry has figured out how do we measure and tie back to the sort of what really matters, inaction is just it can't happen right now. You have to start to play.
And I think as well certainly with digital native stars, you've got your reach and your scale argument, and you get that with YouTube and Google. But I think the metric that's also important is the engagement one, especially for the millennial audience when it comes to media fragmentation. So one last question, because I know we're running out of time, but I think it's an important one, and it's one I'm genuinely interested in your perspectives on, which is, if we were lucky enough to be invited here next year, and we were sitting here again talking about new media, what would we be talking about? What does everyone in this room need to be aware of for 12 months, 24 months, from your points of view? And I'm going to give my 2 cents. I think it's going to be Facebook video. And I think this concept of augmented reality, and I think the concept of virtual reality is only going to get bigger. Oculus Rift are incredible, moving from an entertainment play almost to a utility, teaching people surgery, driving school. I think for me that's one, but I'd love to do a quick round robin and see what everyone thinks.
Sure. I mean, really quickly, I think we'll still be talking about data and how there's way too much of it, but I think from a media company's perspective, very similar to your point, it's the fact that there has always been this kind of one-stop YouTube shop, and as we were seeing with Facebook video, that's not going to be the case a year from now. And from an advertiser perspective, I think it's going to be how you value your content investment, just like we were talking about.
Rob?
Yeah, just video, images, visual. I think just the visualization of everything, and people consuming content that way, people communicating that way, people expressing things that way, and then in the case of WhoSay, from our perspective in the celebrity world, it's the ability to break your own news in media now, to self-publish I don't know if people know Derek Jeter in Ireland. They probably do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So big baseball star in the U.S. He just announced a platform he's creating for athletes to break their own news and publish directly to their fans.
Wow.
So I think that's definitely going to be a trend.
Ezra, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we'll start to see a world of what the next generation cable ecosystem looks like, whether it's Vox or Vice or Fullscreen or BuzzFeed. Like, these are the brands of the future, and we'll start to have those become channels in on our phones, on our tablets, on our gaming platforms. So I think that's one, and then the second I think is the continued legitimization of digital first talent. So YouTubers, Viners, Instagrammers, these are also becoming traditional brands, and they're not going to be looked at as second-class citizens, but they will be looked at in the same way that we look at Eva Longoria and Derek Jeter and other sort of traditional talent.
Yeah, it's about that definition, right, of what is a celebrity and to who decides anymore. So with that said, Ezra, Rob, Jonathan, thank you all for your insights and your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming, and stick around for the next panel.
Thank you.
Thanks.